had to be short and sweet this morning. But we make it happen. That's why we're great at problem solving in this industry is you got to figure out how to make things happen
That's great.
on the fly a lot. So
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you and let's dive in. And guys, our goal in 2025 is to be prompt 8:30 and we are keeping these to 30 minutes. So April, we are so happy to have you and let's jump on in.
yes, so I do not have a formal presentation. However, I'm here to talk all things new construction. I'll give you a 3-second blurb. Got in the business when I was 23, working for a custom home builder, was doing pretty much all of their sales. And then 2008, 2009 happened. They quit building houses. They also did commercial. And I found myself having to kind of figure life out, but never lost that passion. I tell people I was like brought into the business by a builder in new construction. So I literally did everything from what I call concept to closing, picking out the plan, picking out the lot, taking it to permitting, all the things. So just developed a huge passion for watching these babies grow, from a set of plans into somebody's dream home. So have continued that now for 18 years to be a big passion of mine. So I really just kind of want to answer questions because new construction is so broad. Again, I can start with anything from I have a buyer that wants to custom build. Where do we start? To I want to work with builders. How do I do that? So if anybody wants to throw out a question and tell me which way to start going, I'm happy to do it.
Does anybody have anything? Okay. Well, I have
Also,
one.
I do. Go ahead, Allison.
So
Sorry.
go ahead, Val, please. Yeah,
I was
go
just
ahead.
going to say, go for it. So I'm already familiar with that, but I will listen to anything you want to say as far as how did you get in? Who did you target? Literally just anything and anything and everything you want to share about it. Go for it.
As in like how do I start working with
Yeah, like so I've already got builders and developers and investors and things like that. But if I want to go after a new one, who would I want to target first, I guess? Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the biggest things I say is start with the opportunity. That's what you need to lead with. Don't make the mistakes I did and start cold calling builders. Be like, I'd love to work with you. I do a lot of business in the area. They don't care. Builders are never looking for their next
Yeah.
real estate agent. They're looking for their next opportunity. So I cannot say that enough. Find the opportunity, take it to them, and show them your value. So one of the ways I got started, fortunately, I had somewhat of the background already from working with the builder. And one of the first things he did was send me to all the meetings he didn't want to go to. So that was Home Builder Association meetings, chamber meetings, anything and everything you can think of. And I tell people that a lot when I talk about new construction is to be involved in the Home Builders Association. And so many people say, well, I went to one of those meetings and I didn't get a lead off of it. It's not about going to the meetings. It's literally about being involved. It's about understanding how things in the building industry are working. It's about knowing who, some of the major sub players are in the area because you know what? A lot of those are invested in developments on the back end. So there's so many ways that people in the building industry actually work together that you would never know. Everybody, it seems like they're staying in their lane, but some of the biggest developers are also own HVAC companies. They also own plumbing companies. They also are attorneys and accountants and things like that. So a couple of the biggest things I say is dig deep, know who your players are. And meet them where they are. So, for me, I have a big goal this year of working with more smaller onesie twosie builders and helping them grow their portfolio. Because as we know, a lot of your nationals are coming in, they're buying up their land, they're gobbling things up, and it's leaving little to no opportunities for these builders. So, with the mindset you just asked about, Valerie, if you have specific builders in mind, figure out where they're building, figure out what is in your market that would fit in their wheelhouse, for lack of a better word. So I don't know I think you said you already have one in mind. What is their product type? What type of size homes do they usually build in? What kind of neighborhoods do they usually build in? There's a big difference when I tell people that I'm pitching land. I'm not going to pitch one random lot that I found in Benson to one of my biggest builders who pretty much don't take anything less than 20 lots at a time down. They're not going to spread their resources for one lot. But you know what? These onesie twosies, the builders who are building less than 10 houses a year and doing more stuff custom, those are the guys that I'm taking these random lots that I am finding or, onesie twosie opportunities to. And they're so grateful for that opportunity. So I think I would stay there. And Valerie, if you want to expand a little bit your question, if I'm not answering it, just tell me
No,
which
no,
way you
no,
want to
no,
go.
you did a good job. I think it was more, I guess I have a building background, so I already am familiar with how everything works and dialed in. I'm new to this market though, and I'm sure Allison could probably tell you I'm very new to the area and not being dialed in. I've gone to a couple of the town like permitting meetings and things like that just to kind of get an idea of who's who. But it is definitely been focusing on the, I don't mean it like in a mean way, but the little people, because it is really tough to break into the really large developers. And I'm not at that level. I'm just not. And I don't know that I want to be, quite frankly, but figuring out how to get in front of them, I think was more my concern. Um,
So
so I think
homeowners.
that answered my question, I think. Because I
The
do come from a place of it's not a hey, I want to work with you. How can I work with you? It's a hey, I've got this opportunity. Is it something that would work for you? It looks like it's kind of what you do. So I kind of already go that route, I guess. So I think you kind of answered my question in a roundabout way.
So I can't say enough about being involved in the Home Builders Association. And again, it wasn't like I just went to the meetings. I got on committees. I was like on one of the
Mhm.
very first Parade of Homes committees. I understood the ins and outs. I understood what these builders were complaining about in these meetings that they felt like realtors weren't doing. That's where you hear like what is missing in that market. And I feel like that's something we do a good job at is we come at it more of a builder mindset on versus a realtor mindset. Like, hey, I know
Mhm.
you don't want to deal with this. I know you don't want to have to deal with that. One of the things I say the most is builders are builders for a reason. They don't want to do marketing. They don't want to do paperwork. They don't want to do all these things. So how can we take that stress off of them? And that is the value proposition that we bring much more than just, I'm going to put a sign in the yard and I'm going to market it. So
Mhm.
I would say, find out who those key players are. I joke, my husband and I would go to planning board meetings as date nights just so I knew what was going on in the communities. And I'm sitting there with my iPad and a neighborhood comes across and I'm immediately looking up who the developer is, going to the Secretary of State website, Googling who they are. So I know who these players are. Um, because you find out that there's a lot of players that are very similar that are tied into each other, and that's kind of how you at least need to know who they are to figure out what their business model is, who they're already working with, and where there may be room for them to work for somebody else. So my very first on-site opportunity I can completely attribute to being in the Home Builders Association and being present. Every time this builder group had an open house or a realtor broker open, I was there. I was very present. I was asking questions. I was posting about it on social media. So it's kind of like they felt I was already working for them, even though I wasn't. So when it came time and they had their first development, I was so honored that I was pretty much their first call. And they said, we see you everywhere. You've been supporting us even when you didn't have the listings. And now we want to put your marketing behind what we're building. And it's
That's
just
great,
been
April. That's great.
Katie bar the
Yep.
door from there. And so if you're in a new area, the other thing I would tell you, go talk to the national on-site sales managers. They have data like nobody else's business, and they love local real estate agents because keep in mind, your national agents that are sitting in these model homes, they don't do listings. So if somebody comes in, they have a house to sell, they need to know who to refer them to. Try to be an advocate for these national builders around you, and you'll find out so much because so many of these nationals are also buying lots from local builders. So I kind of made a quasi partnership with one of the nationals in our area, or actually a big regional. They have a lot of market data that they get updated on weekly, monthly, et cetera. And so I am trading what general brokerage market data is with them, so they know what to expect from realtors. Who are the players in their area that they need to be focusing on, et cetera. And then they're sharing market data from them, saying this is what we're getting coming down the pipeline from a national level. So make those connections with as many people as you can, and then you'll start to be known as that agent who's really knowledgeable about new construction. And so I have two builders that literally started from scratch and they called me first and they said, you seem like you know how to build and how to sell new homes. What do we need to know? And I mean, I sat down and showed them how to budget their first house.
Yeah, I
And
just had one of those calls yesterday. Yes. And it really is, like you said, it's a value proposition thing.
mhm.
Gotcha. Okay.
Oh, I did also the new construction marketing certification that was through the Home Builders Association several years ago. While so much of the knowledge or the information was kind of at a 10,000-foot view, and a lot of it I already knew, what I got were some really great toolbox items. So they give you this whole toolkit. I mean, it literally has templates of change orders. It had templates of a construction schedule. It had templates of random things that you would assume every builder knows, but builders get thrown into the industry just like we do. A lot
Mhm.
of them grew up in construction, so they know the part of construction behind it. scheduling, marketing, finding subs, all of that is still fairly new to them. Just like we have to go out and prospect for who our people are going to be, they have to do the same thing. So if you already have a list of, hey, here's the HVAC contractor that I know does this for builders, and this is how they run, and here's who the trim carpenter is that a lot of builders are using, and here's this. Again, it's like providing our regular clients that vendor list that we know is worth its weight in gold. You can do the same thing with local subcontractors, which will also get to know through the HBA, to help your builders, either save money, get started, all the things.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
What else?
Go ahead, Allison. I'm sorry. I could talk to her forever. Go for it.
I'm sorry, I was feeding puppies. I apologize, but I was listening the whole time. Okay, yeah. So I think my biggest thing was like Val is coming from a standpoint of like how to get engaged. And then, one of the biggest things is like developments. And so if you are an agent and you already know, like, I guess I'll back up. In our market, we're seeing a lot of specs go up and we see them in the process of being built, but they're not being marketed. They're not being sold. And so like one of our agents was doing a drive-by the other day and he just picked up the phone and called and said, "What's your plan? What are you doing with this?" And so I think that like, what is your presentation and your marketing and how is that different when you're going to somebody that might have 3 or 4 or plans to build, 3 to 10 homes, not a big developer, but kind of that onesie twosie. Like, how do you market differently? And how do you say you can be confident in my ability to market your properties? Is there a difference between like a normal residential versus that?
Absolutely. So almost kind of, it's similar but different. So you need to gear up for all the stages of construction. So, MLS kind of shot us in the foot when they brought back days on market for new construction. And I was on the TMLS board when that was taken away. And I know we've got different MLSs on here, but just a little background, several years ago, if you had new construction, it did not accrue days on market. And there were several of us that did new construction that approached the board with, we need to let people know this is coming because we have inventory issues. However, nobody wants their house to hit the market prematurely because it's going to accrue days on market. And we still can't get the consumer to realize that number really doesn't mean anything. So with that being said, you have to be very careful. What we have done is couple different things. I mean, at EXP, we're great. We're lucky that we have Zenlist. So you could start marketing these properties as office exclusives, from what I say, as a phantom listing. So we're putting the plan out there. We're putting pictures of, what the builder is imagining this kitchen's going to look like, et cetera, and going ahead and letting people know, hey, this is what you can expect. If there is a development of any sort, if there's going to be more than one house, I also go ahead and create a Facebook page for that development so that I can continuously post updates and photos and what people can expect and, start those VIP, sign up lists to be the first to know once these homes are released, et cetera. You're going to get a lot of phone calls initially once you start pre-marketing a new construction home, and then you'll be able to kind of weed out who are people that are serious that may actually turn into a pre-sale. So that's another big important piece that I like builders to know, especially once I get to know them well, is I'm going to be your filter. I'm not going to send you everybody who calls. I'm going to have these conversations. I'm going to have these discussions up front, figure out what they really are trying to accomplish. And then I will bring it to you when I have people who are ready, willing, and able. Everything else before that, it's kind of like the real estate school brain of customer to client. Once they become a client, then I'm coming to you with them. While they're just a customer, I'm getting them as much information as I possibly can, fielding questions, etc. So I cannot say strongly enough about creating these Facebook pages for your developments, no matter how big or small they are. And for marketing purposes, you can go ahead and put out a marketing sign on the development. You've got a listing agreement, obviously, without necessarily having to put the houses in MLS. You can go ahead and put a marketing sign up, QR code, all the things, letting people know that there's an opportunity there if they're interested in that location. And the cool thing about that is I still run about 30 plus Facebook pages of communities. Like they end up turning into community pages, and I created them. And so I have the inside scoop on what's going on in all the neighborhoods that we've worked with. And there's still a lot of great opportunity there for leads and follow up with past clients, past people that have bought out there, whether they were my buyers or not. You still have that connection with those clients. And so you're able to kind of regurgitate, I hate to say, that business that came from when it was new construction and then on. I'm not gonna lie, it is a lot to manage, which is why I'm grateful that I have amazing staff that helps with it.
April,
Okay, can
how do you manage that conversation, I guess, scripting with the builder? I have builders that they want every piece of nugget of information of every lead and every interest. And maybe that comes from them having a broker background. But I guess, like, how did you kind of guide that conversation? Like, hey, look, like I got this, like, I'll let you know when there's something that you guys need to pursue. Cause I feel like I'm struggling with that right now, where I feel like they want to know every inquiry. They want to know how well they're being followed. It's just kind of like, you got to get out of my lane so you can stay in your lane. So have you dealt with that? Have you been able to remedy that anywhere?
I'm not going to say remedy. I deal with it every day. The biggest thing I do is set expectations. They know they're getting a report from me on Monday. And not only that, but a lot of our builders right now, and I get it, this is their bread and butter. They have to have a certain amount of closings to pay their employees. And that's where we have to come from, a place of, it's not just one sale to them. And that's, again, where I was fortunate in seeing the back end and seeing the interest checks get written and seeing all the things happen when I work for this builder, is that I do understand that in our realtor minds, it's like, well, it's not even finished yet. I mean, we'll worry about it once it gets finished. Well, that expensive clock starts ticking and eating into every ounce of their profit the moment it gets finished, and they're just paying interest on it. So we need to be very thoughtful about that. And so what I do is set expectations. They know they're going to get a full report from me on Monday. That's going to include a CMA of the neighborhood, especially if they're in an area where they're competing with other builders. The last thing you want is for another builder to know another competing builder's house when under contract before you tell them. So I have my neighborhood set up on searches, and I'm in constant contact with the other agents in those communities to make sure, like, hey, what kind of traffic are you having? And that is part of my reporting. And then some of them, they want to know who the agents are. And I'm like, that's fine. If you want to pick up the phone and call them, that's great. They're going to tell you that they've already received 4 emails from me and that we've already been in touch, and we were in touch with them before they ever went out to the house. So I don't care if these builders feel like they also need to pick up the phone and call those agents. They'll also understand how frustrated it is for us to deal with a lot of buyer agents on the other end of new construction. So that's one of the things, setting expectations, because most builders are used to a realtor puts a sign in the yard and they call them when they have an offer, and that's it. And when these builders are literally writing interest checks every week, and they're writing payroll checks every week, and there's no contracts coming in, it's like us with our business. We want to know what everybody's doing to make sure that they're worth their time. And so, again, I don't have a remedy. The best thing I could do is say, be as transparent as possible and set the expectations of, you're going to hear from me at this time. And then one of our bigger builders, we literally have a standing call like twice a week. And a lot of times I'm sending him like a Google Doc outline, like, here's our agenda. I want to make sure we cover this, this, and this. And that helps prevent the constant everyday, like, hey, what's going on with this? Hey, what's going on with this? Because he knows we're going to talk tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Like, that was my call all the way in here. I knew that I was going to be talking to him about 2 issues and, potential leads that we have the whole way here. And so he didn't feel the need to call me last night at 7. Now, do I know he's going to text me every Sunday evening and be like, where are we at? Absolutely. Do my agents who do new construction know they're probably going to hear from me around the same time? Absolutely. But we've also set the precedence with them that we need your reporting in on Sunday night at 5, because these builders are calling me first thing Monday morning, and they know that. So it's all about creating those boundaries, guidelines, and setting the expectation. And just like with our regular residential clients, if we get ahead of them with the information, then they're not going to feel like they're in the dark. And as much data as you can throw at them is great, because guess what? They 9 times out of 10 don't read any of it. And so at least they feel like, well, probably the question I'm going to ask her is in that data. So I'll go refer to that, which they never do, but it keeps them from calling me every 5 minutes about, what about this? And what's the average price per square foot? I'm like, it's on that spreadsheet that I sent you, which is literally just a quick CMA.
It's there.
It's there.
Love that.
What else y'all got?
I think I have an opinion question. Sorry, I literally could just talk to you forever.
That's
So
fine.
there's a development that is like 20 years old. It's kind of just, it's been a huge issue for the last 20 years. D.R. Horton has purchased, I think, 90 of the lots There are 70 left that are individual owners. I've had conversations with quite a few of them because I live right down the road. Have several of them that they're in the process of listing with me because we've got another developer. D.R. Horton's not buying these anymore. They're content with what they've got. So we got another developer from upstate who is interested in purchasing some of the lots. They've got an offer on one, said touch base with me with the rest of them. So long story short, I've been added to the Facebook page that the individual lot owners have, and it's kind of just like a shit show, I'm sorry to say, because they're just so frustrated because it was a
Most
fire sale
community
years ago.
Facebook pages are. It's like
Yeah.
everybody is now a public HOA board. If
Love
you're
Yeah,
you.
and I
See
mean,
you
there's no
later.
homes in there. It's all
Stay
lot
warm.
owners. So they're just frustrated people. And coming from a place of value, it's just, hey,
That
this is
yours?
what's been going on in there. My
No,
question
that's
is,
mine. Okay.
would you suggest, because again, I do have a relatively good relationship with the page administrator, and he's looking to sell his lot. Would you suggest approaching him and asking if I can help with that? My thought is not that D.R. Horton won't let me sell their houses. I get that. But those that are coming into the neighborhood could be added to that. I don't know, not quite sure how I'd figure that out, but somehow figure that out. But would that be because it's already in existence? So it's kind of incorporating what's already there with what's coming in. Does that make sense what I'm asking? Would that be a good angle?
Absolutely. So what I did, it was a neighborhood close by that I worked in for years, and the developer was anti-brokers. He did not care who you were. It didn't matter that I had sold like 5 of his houses and everything went wonderfully. He never trusted a real estate agent, never would. So finally, they had like 10 lots left in this subdivision. I was like, listen, let me put a sign out there. You know, I know this neighborhood. Let me put a sign out there in the rest of your lots, whatever lot price you want. I'm not going to charge you to sell these lots. I'm not taking a commission whatsoever, but will you let me market these lots? Why would they say no to that? And what happened is I ended up with 3 new builders because they came in and they thought just because I had the lots that they needed to use me. But then what they found out, especially from the developer, that I was the neighborhood expert. And so they're like, we're better
Mhm.
off to use you. And so by taking these listings for free, it exponentially paid for itself. And now, I mean, it's been like 7 years since I did that, and an individual bought one of the lots. They're no longer going to build on it. They called us back and they were like, hey, can you help us sell this lot? And I was like, absolutely, sell it to one of our builders. And now we have a new spec house coming. So it's all about being that person that's there first, that's their first point of contact in that community and giving them the information that they need to know about that community. So I would absolutely post in that Facebook group and be like, hey, if you want to unload your lots, let me be that person for you. I will not charge you a listing fee. Obviously, anything that happens on the buyer side, I never offered any buyer agency compensation on a lot because most buyers that are working with a builder who buys a lot is going to get paid by the builder when the house sells. So that was like gold. We sold the lots very quickly, ended up with 2 new builders. 3 went to individual owners. But again, there was very little work that had to be done to get those closed. I mean, again, the surveys had already been done, all the utilities were in. So it was worth it to me to gain. I think we got like, let's see, there was 10 lots. We got 6 new listings and 2 new builders out of it. And now one that sold to an individual has come back 5 years later. So you can say 7 new listings.
Cool. Okay. Okay.
So it's also important in new construction, you get creative. Every house is different. And that is the biggest thing. If you're ever meeting with a builder, if you're ever meeting with a developer, you need to meet them where they are. See their office or their design centers. Meet them at the lots. Tina Call will tell you that's one of the first things when we first started working together. She was like, I got my first call for development, interviewing agents. What do I do? And I said, meet them out at the lot. And she was like, really? And I said, this is their baby. They want you to see their baby and know their baby and care about their baby at the end of the day. And me meeting them at my office and giving them a dog and pony show is exactly what most other realtors are doing. So I'm gonna put my boots on. I want to meet them out there. And I'm telling you, most of these builders, they know every tree, they know every dip and hole on these properties, and they want you to know about it and care about it too. So just like with our regular, real estate residential clients, find out what their why is. Because not all builders are out to make $1 million. Some are like, I want to sell enough so that I can start building more. Some want to, they want to put out a nice product so that they start making a name for themselves. And you can help be a part of that, but you need to figure out what's important to them. Anything else? Has it been helpful? I hope. I know we're running out of time. And I will also say with developments, and if you're taking on something big, talk to somebody who knows what they're doing before you just fly blind. And I say that because I was really, really grateful that I had some great mentors that were kind of like, this is what this means. Like I remember going to some of my first builder meetings and they were talking about subordinating the lots and this, that, and the other. And I was literally writing down words that they were saying that I had no idea what that meant. And I was calling my mentor later, like, what does it mean to subordinate the lots? For the most part, nobody really does that anymore. But back when we were putting together builder teams and stuff like that, there was a lot of nuances that were going back and forth. So again, it's just like our regular clients. It's all about getting to know them, understanding them, their business, their why, and how you can bring them opportunities and take some of their pain points away.
Kind of to wrap it up, I think that a lot, what I heard is, I'll take that listing because I know what's going to come from it and I'm not charging this commission, et cetera. And I'm a lot like that on don't look at the now, look at the long term. And so I know there's a few people that would say like, no, I don't take it unless I'm getting paid 3%. We've kind of got like 2 or 3 more minutes just to dive in. Like, if you're doing a 10-unit development for somebody, I mean, do you list it for 1.5%, like the whole package deal, knowing that you'll probably get the residual buyers from it and you're doing 10 units, or like, what does that commission structure look like for you?
Now for that, the homes or the lots?
I'm like both, right? If you're not just starting in the beginning and you're not just doing the lots, and then you want to, like for me, I want to know that I'm going to sell the package, or when they build the house, I want to then get the listing. And so are you taking the listing, the full finished package at 3% on the list side, or are you willing to reduce your commission because you're doing multiple transactions with them?
I'm not typically reducing my commission on the overall sale. Now, if they're buying the lot from me and I'm getting paid a commission on that, and then I'm going to turn around and list the house, then yeah, I'll credit them whatever I got paid for that lot purchase. I tell the builders, I was like, I'm not trying to double dip on you. If I got paid for selling you this lot, I'm going to build in that commission and take it off of whatever I'd get paid from the sale of the home on this lot, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that totally does.
Yeah, but I typically stay, 2.5% for new construction listings. We do 2.5. We offer, typically 2.4 or 2.5 to the buyer's agent, depending on which market we're in. But unless it's a really massive development, I don't typically do breaks. And the reason is, and a lot of my competitors, they still charge a 1% marketing fee. So a lot of your bigger builder teams, they also have a marketing fee on top of their commission. That's something I've never really adopted. Again, brought into the business by a builder. I kind of felt like, well, that's point of commission, that's a marketing fee, but there's still a lot of groups. And I see it now. I mean, I've spent upwards of $7,000 or $8,000 on a development before the first house was ever even out of the ground. So I get why they do that. I just never have really been one to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. I mean, I think it's worth noting, because if there's a lot of developers, I say developers, there's a lot of smaller builders that'll come in and say, well, I'm going to give you, 5 listings over the course of the next 5 years. And it's like, well, then we can scale that commission down as we go forward. But for me, the first one's going to be a full commission. And then as we move forward, because there's no guarantee that you're going to get all 5 listings.
Well, and what they don't understand, and we need to help them understand, is we don't control the market. We're going to do everything to get this house sold. But if at the end of the day, the house doesn't sell, we've both put out money. We've both put out risk with no reward. So it's not serving anyone for me to go in this automatically taking a hit, when we all know in this business, you get what you pay for.
Yep. Very good. Sometimes it's just good to hear other people say it out loud. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
That was great. Does anybody have any questions?
Thanks, April.
You're very welcome.
Yes, April, thank you. We again want to be very punctual, and we want to make sure that we're using your time as wisely as possible. So we appreciate you being on with us this morning, and we are always here if you need us.
Ditto. Happy to help. Thank y'all.
Thanks, girl.
Have a wonderful day.